All right, let's actually delete EQ8. Click on it and press delete. It is gone. Minimize spectrum. The next effect I'm going to show you is called a filter. Sorry, there's trombones next door. I don't know if you guys can hear them. All right, so let's get the effect called auto filter and drag it into our effect area. Now, an auto filter is a lot like an equalizer, except it cuts off certain sections of sound completely. Now, we have 4 kinds of filters, and you can see them right here. The kind that is displayed right now is called a low pass filter. It's called low pass because it's letting sound in the low frequency through. See? There's no sound here, but there is sound in the low, so it's called low pass. And we have the opposite, a high pass. It lets high frequencies through and not low frequencies. And here we have a combination of the two, letting only mid-range through, mid-pass. And here we have a notch filter, which just is a notch, doesn't let any mid-range through. So let's see how this works with the sound. You might notice it has some similarities to the equalizer. Sorry. So I'll just play the sample dry, and then with the effect, and we'll see how that goes. Now here's a high pass filter. Pretty interesting, right? That sweeping effect with a low pass filter is really, really common in electronic music. I'm sure you've heard that kind of effect before. And that's how they do it. Practical knowledge. Look at that. Now let's look at the spectrum while we manipulate our auto filter here. We'll see exactly what it's doing. All right, here we go. Oh, you see I made a mistake. I am looking at the spectrum before the auto filter. So let's take our spectrum, move it after the auto filter so we can see how the filter is affecting the sound. Here we go. Here we go. You see all of our high frequencies are gone completely. Now we can turn it back up. And they're back. Look at that. Now let's do a high pass filter. Turn this all the way down. You'll see all of our low frequencies disappear. Look at that. Okay. Now here's our mid pass. And our notch. Okay, that's a good one. You can see the notch in the snare here. Excellent. All right. There's our auto filter. That is instrumental in mastering drum sounds and different effects and stuff like that. So this is my favorite effect. We'll be coming back to that very soon. All right. Now for some more fun effects. Those effects are subtractive effects. They take things away. This next effect is an additive effect in which we add things to the sound. So let's pull up a reverb. A reverb is like an echo. So take reverb, put it over there. You'll be able to hear this effect immediately. It's very distinctive. Things we need to know about this one. Dry wet refers to the amount of effect. Dry is no effect. Wet is 100% effect. And I'll play our clip and manipulate that a little bit so you can see. Decay time is the amount of tail the reverb adds to the sound, and you'll hear what I mean. Oh my lord, these people are loud. All right, so reverb. I'll play it, I'll manipulate it, and you'll see how it works. That's wet. That's dry. Let's add some wetness. So that is 100% reverb, no dry sound. That's 50%. And there's 100% dry. The effect isn't even doing anything. You can hear on and off the same, 100% dry. And here's what happens when we mess with the decay time. Adds a lot to the sound. All these other knobs and graphs and things, I encourage you to experiment with them and see how they affect the sound. A lot of them you won't be able to hear what happens, and some of them you will. So that's up to you. But decay time, dry wet, those are the basics. Our next effect is called simple delay. So let's pull that over. And delay just loops individual sounds over and over again. So I'll just do this and you'll be able to hear it. And again, you'll see we have dry wet and a new knob called feedback, which I will tell you what it does after you listen to the delay. Now I'm going to turn with the feedback, and what's going to happen is the delayed sounds are going to loop back on themselves. And so basically, the dry sound comes in, it's delayed, and then the delay sound is going to loop back through the delay effect, and you'll get this echoing kind of thing happening. You'll see what I mean when I turn up the feedback. Go. So, feedback, delay, pretty intuitive. The actual way this effect works, you obviously heard the stereo effect happening, provided you're wearing both of your headphones like you should be. The left hand is, this is in time, it's by note, so this is a whole note, half note, triplet, quarter note, quarter note, triplet, actual quarter note, 5-tuplet, etc. So you heard the left is repeating in increments of 6, the right is repeating in increments of 5, and the feedback goes like that. The sync button is turns off and on the sync feature. These numbers you use when you're synced, when you have the time selected. You use this to denote how many milliseconds there are between the dry sound and the delayed sound, and that can vary from left to right as well. If you click the link, it'll just do one of those. It'll delay in mono, so to speak. So it'll only take the left. And that's basically all you need to know about delay. It's pretty simple. And again, I encourage you to experiment with it and learn the ins and outs. The second to last thing we're going to touch on is the limiter. The limiter is basically a ceiling for your sound. So when you're making synths and working with drums, you want to stick a limiter on almost everything so that you don't overboost your mixer. I'll kind of show you how that works. So let's come over here. Let's expand our mixer section. This is the master. It's the final sound coming out. And you'll see there's this little green thing happening. If this green were to surpass this little notch up here, then it would be what we call clipping, which is bad. It means that some of the sound isn't making it through the mixer because it's just too loud. There's too much sound. So what we do is we use the limiter to take off some of that sound. Right now we're not having that problem, so there is no limiting happening. But if we were to turn up our drum rack a little bit, then we might be able to get it to clip a little. Turn down your volume. This is going to get really loud. Let's just do it with the kick because it's a little bit less annoying. Ignore this. I'm just going to turn up the volume of the kick. There we go. Yeah. really loud. Yeah. So you can see it's turning red. It means it's clipping. It's not good. So that's what the limiter does. It takes that sound and it keeps it from clipping. See? Perfect. By the way, if you didn't turn down your headphones when I told you to, shame on you. Your ears are valuable. You need them. Don't listen to music too loud. Don't listen on earbuds. They're terrible. That's an entirely different lecture. Okay, the last thing we're going to touch on is called a compressor. Now, this is a fairly complicated effect, so if you don't completely understand it right now, don't worry about it. But it's instrumental in the mastering process, so I'm definitely going to touch on it. The compressor decreases the amount of dynamic contrast in a sound. So if you had a clip that crescendoed from piano to forte, then if you put a compressor on it, that dynamic contrast would be significantly less, which sometimes is a bad thing and sometimes is a good thing in the case of drum samples. So I'm just going to really quickly master this drum sample, and you can see this kick drum. I'll just do the kick drum. Again, ignore. I'll go over how to do this when we get to the mastering section. But I'm just going to master this kick drum with the compressor, and you'll see exactly how it changes the sound and how it makes it sound better. Oh, it's loud again. That's not good. Again, sorry if I hurt your ears. My bad. Why is that so loud? Probably should be at -12. I apologize. Alright, back on track. Here we go. And made it punchier, yeah? That high end is a lot more articulate. That's exactly what the compressor will do. And it's the actual physics of it are a little bit more complicated than that, but that's all you need to know for this. So, and with that, we will wrap up the effects section of this tutorial. Keep watching for your mastering.